Hello, and welcome to Universal Heritage Television Niger. We are happy to have you once again on our face-to-face program, a personality interview program. We have as our guest today Professor Sam Ezeanyika, a professor of political economy and African studies. Please remember to like our Facebook page and subscribe to our YouTube platform at the end of the program. My name is Afam Echi. Prof, you added one on Saturday. Prof is a friend of the house, and one way we have decided to celebrate him and share in the good moment is to have a discussion, that on contemporary issues affecting our society. Coincidentally, it was the day Nigerians went to the polls. He added one. Prof, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Please, can you introduce yourself by yourself better than I have done?
My name is Samuel Ezeanyika. I am a teacher at Imo State University, Department of Political Science. I'm a professor of political economy and African studies. And the 1 year you are talking about of anniversary is my 30th anniversary as a lecturer in the university.
Okay.
Yes, it's my pleasure to be at Universal Heritage TV today, and I'm highly appreciative of the fact that you've decided to use this special celebration for me to discuss salient issues about our polity. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Prof, we need to know more about your background academically. The past 30 years in the academics is you didn't just get up and become a professor. So what is it like these past 30 years?
Well, it's been quite interesting. I entered university in 1980. I was an exchange student at the University of Ife, now Obafemi Awolowo University. I did another degree at the University of Grenoble 3 in France. In Ife and in Grenoble, I read French, languages, literature, and civilization. In France, that involved political science and history. And then for my master's, I did a master's in international relations in Ife and did a PhD at Imo State University. I have been involved in academic scholarship for 30 years, as I mentioned earlier, and this has taken me to over 70 countries across the world. I'm a research fellow, and I've had the privilege of consulting for multilateral organizations and multinational organizations like the AU, African Union, like GIZ, the German Foundation that is in charge of research, etc., with UNICEF, UNIFEM, Action Aid, quite a number of them. And in these institutions and organizations, the most prominent among them was the Pan-African Parliament, because it put into test everything that I've studied over the years. I've had a very interesting marriage life. I have 5 kids. I won't be calling them kids, they are grown-ups. I have 4 men and 1 woman, yes. And I'm happily married with Winnie Ezeanyika. And that's about that.
Okay, Prof. Okay, let's have it at that point. Now, how do you feel, bearing in mind that not many people have been graced to live up to the age you are celebrating now, at least for the gift of life? How do you feel?
In fact, I always tell this to my students or any audience that I have access to, that any Nigerian or any African in general that lives beyond the age of 47 if he's male, or 49 if he's female, should do novena every day to thank God for surviving, because that is the life expectancy of the average African. Let's take 49 as the average life expectancy for both male and female. Having lived up to 61, I am comprehensively grateful to God for such a privilege and having given me such an opportunity professionally to also spend up to 30 years in the classroom and in the field for research. I am completely and comprehensively grateful.
It's okay. Prof is grateful to God for the gift of life. Now, all these years, you put in 30 years in academics, and in our environment, in Nigeria in particular, teachers complain somewhat they are not properly rewarded. They are told that their reward is in heaven. You know, what could possibly have been your motivation to sojourn this long in academics when the reward system has not been fair to people in the classroom?
The honest truth is the fact that we have two classes of lecturers or academic. Those who are born academics, that is those whose passion is academic, desire is academic, aspiration, and those who found a job in the academia. There are two very distinct and very touchy group of people. I am of the first group.
Okay.
I can say that in 1992, when I came back from abroad, I had an opportunity to work at a bank.
Okay.
You know, and the bank was offering, at that point in time, was offering a salary of 25,000 naira a month. Then I also got a job in the university, and the university was offering 3,200. So you can see that for me, yes, for me to have dumped or refused to take the job from the bank and take the job from the university is indicative enough that that is where I saw the light shining for me. And sincerely, I have no regrets for the long journey that I took. It was tumultuous. It has been tumultuous. It's been difficult. It's been challenging. I would prefer to use that word, but it's been wonderful too. Absolutely wonderful. I am completely satisfied with my job. I have done to my own little way. I've contributed my own quota. I have up to 5 books internationally recognized. I have a book that is used in other countries, and I have interacted with colleagues, myself and others in dynamic discussion for the development of the country. I feel, in all humility, that I've contributed, and I will continue to do so, my own quota towards the development of my immediate community and by extension the international community.
Okay, thank you so much. Academics is your passion.
Definitely.
You derive joy in doing it. It's your calling.
Yes.
Okay, for all of these years, what moment can you describe as most glorious for you that remains evergreen in your mind?
Yes, there is, but you know, it's difficult to pinpoint one, but it was when I was engaged as a consultant with the Pan-African Parliament. It was a contract of quite a number of years, from 2013 to 2018, when late Betel Amadi was the president of the Pan-African Parliament. I worked with him under Professor Mwebo, who was my immediate boss. Then the next immediate boss was the president of the Pan-African Parliament. Why I considered it most challenging is the fact that what was demanded of me and an impromptu signal was tremendously heavy. You know, the Pan-African Parliament president will be presenting a speech to the world maybe in an hour's time, and you are told 45 minutes before that time to produce the speech that he's going to use. I also introduced my own little novelties of difference in presenting such document, bullet point, etc., rapid recollection, things that put more. Then organizing meetings in the Pan-African Parliament is not a joke. I am privileged, like I mentioned earlier, to be bilingual. I am proficiently bilingual, French, English, English, French. I am an international interpreter, simultaneous interpreter, freelance because I don't have a license. You need to have a license as an interpreter, but I am a freelance international interpreter registered. So the Pan-African Parliament presented a peculiar and particular challenge, and I am very pleased with myself that I did the best I could.
Okay. And you got commendations?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Well, so on the other side, on the flip side, what could be your low moments?
The realization after 30 years in academics that it takes God's intervention for you to impart a change in not just the polity, but the student that you are teaching. You realize that each year you teach up to 200, 150 students, and those who imbibe the values that you have preached or propounded in class are very minimal. And it can be really very disappointing. But it's a dynamic reality that you have to deal with as long as you are in this profession.
Okay, Prof, let's go back to what happened on Saturday. That was exactly your birthday. I hope you spent time to vote.
Yes, I did.
The same day, Nigerians were trying to effect a change of guard.
Yes.
Now, the outcome of that effort appears to be hazy. There are a lot of comments. What I'm talking about specifically is the INEC and the election proper. What actually happened? Now, people are getting disillusioned, are getting disappointed. There are a lot of issues. It will appear that we are not learning lessons from previous experiences. We've been conducting elections over the years. This is the 7th consecutive election since 1999.
Yes.
Now, there are still failures here and there. Now, how would you assess our democratic experiment? What is it like?
I will begin by, if you allow me, give my own definition of democracy, because the problem with democracy is perception. People perceive different things, and Nigerians are experts in perception and assumptions. Democracy is a culture.
Okay.
Democracy is a way of life. It is acquired through a process of learning by doing, a process of socialization. What I have said is very serious in my thinking, in the way I reason. And let me repeat myself. Democracy is a culture. It is a way of life. I didn't say it is bought. I said it is acquired through a process of learning by doing, through a process of socialization. Now, these are the tenets, these are the things, the ingredients that you will find in a democracy. Now, when we say in Nigeria that we are pursuing democracy, are we pursuing democracy as a culture? Are we pursuing it as a way of life? Are we engaged dynamically in a process of learning by doing? Are we engaged in a process of socialization? If you have 4 yes, then we are on the right track. If you have 3 yes, then we are progressing. If you have 2, you are midway or midstream. If you have 1, you are in what are called the democracy project. That is, that in the minds of the collectivity of Nigerians, in my mind, in yours, in others' mind, there is the ideal of democracy. There is that desire. There is that wish and want. But those are not enough. So what you have at that stage of process of democracy is a prototype. If you want to build a house, you have some money, you bought land, then you have an architect to design a building for you. You can ask the architect to give you a prototype of that design. Yes. So that you can look at it and tell yourself that this is approximately what I want. At what stage? Are we in the stage of a project? Or have we graduated to 2 point, which is a stage for process?
Now, Prof, you as drawing from your experience in political studies, now you should be able to tell us at what point we are in Nigeria in what you have described. You know, when you say it's a culture for a group of people, well, now we are saying this should be 20-something years of democracy. Now, over time, it is simple. One can say it is a culture. It is our way of life. But on the other hand, if you look at it the other way, this is something we took from somewhere. It has not been indigenous. The way we govern ourselves prior to colonization is different. We inherited this democracy from other people because they feel it is a global thing. It's working somewhere. Now, drawing from the question you are putting, I think it would be better you situate it properly, because you said you want to define democracy from your own perspective. So at what point are we now? Are we actually socializing ourselves into it? Because you said it's by doing. So all of this period we have been practicing, we call it democracy. Are you saying we are not really doing democracy?
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
We are not really practicing democracy.
Because democracy has tenets. There are basic things that constitute the ingredient of democracy. You see, if you are born into an Igbo, a Yoruba, or a Hausa family, yes, and you grow up inside the confine of that family, yes, you will automatically pick socio-cultural values that are specific to that environment. If, of course, you are twin and one person remains in Igbo land and the other person goes to Washington, D.C., when you are brought together at the age of 20, you'll be two different individuals. You two have different value systems. So what is the point I'm making? The point I'm making is that we live a culture of assumption in this country. We always assume that we are somewhere when we are not there. We assume it in our mind, but we are not a democracy. We have not been years. No. We are striving to go beyond the process because we are still at the terminal stage of a project. We have the concept of democracy in our mind. We desire to have democracy. We wish, we aspire. But this thing is not a BMW. You just go to a shop where they sell cars and you buy it and you own it. It is not a word in a textbook, which you just go to a bookshop and you buy all the books on democracy and you become a Democrat. No. It is a culture. It is a way of life. It is acquired. That means you work to acquire it. It takes a process. And it is acquired through the actualization of that process in institution. INEC is one of those institutions. But there are many other institutions that are involved in fostering democracy in us. But there must be something indigenous about whatever it is that we are fostering. There must be something cultural about it. If there isn't, then it won't hold.
Okay. So in other words, you are explaining that this is the reason what we call democracy is not working in Africa. It's not just in Nigeria alone. If you compare African countries and the civilized societies, you discover that there is a very big difference between what they're experiencing and what we're experiencing here.
Yeah, there are other factors in that learning by doing. Discipline.
Okay.
The possibility of actualizing government and governance. You know, we are incapacitated in many levels. Corruption. These are attributes or things that they generate the possibility of entrenching or enhancing democracy. Because you need institutions to foster the growth of democracy. These institutions must be institutionalized. That means they must be able to function independently. They must be able to be independent of the influence of those persons in power at a point who determine who gets what, when, and how. Now, the question you may next want to ask me is INEC institutionalized? So first of all, is INEC an institution? The answer is yes. It was formed to be an institution. And every aspect of INEC targeted at, all the aspects are targeted at actualizing whatever it is that is the ideal of democracy for those persons who created the institution. Now, is it institutionalized? The answer is no. That is why we're having this problem we're faced with. That is why what happened on Saturday, for many of us, was expected. Why was it expected? Because yes, INEC is an institution, but no, INEC is not institutionalized. INEC cannot take independent decisions. INEC is teleguided by a group of people. I'm not looking for somebody to blame. I'm saying structurally, when you structure institution, that is it, they have a purpose. Yeah. That's why I say it is learning by doing. It does not mean also that when INEC goes in for the first time, or the second time, or the third time, or even the seventh time now, it must succeed. But even if it does not succeed wholesomely, there are things that are expected of a child who has grown for 21 years. And when those things are not done, then you begin to check, did he take the right kind of milk? Was it that camel or corn did he take?
Okay, now what do you think is the possible way out of these things? Because if we must continue to do this, we will continue to get the same result. Now we have identified what is wrong. What do we need to do differently?
You know, I'm happy you say that here we have identified. I hope that it's inside the studio here, because the studio is not in Nigeria.
But the message is global. The message is transmitted globally.
Good. Now, the truth of the matter is, I really wish that at your own spare time you look again at the definition of democracy. That says democracy is a culture. Democracy is a way of life. It is, yes, it is
through socialization.
Yes, it is acquired through socialization, through a process of learning by doing, which means that even to persons like us who are critical about the shortfalls of INEC, about the challenges of INEC, we are also cognizant of the fact that we are still in the process of learning by doing, and that process is dynamic. Is endless, but the point is that certain results, certain level of performance are expected at certain stages of that process.
Okay, Prof, let me take you back to, we will come back to politics.
No problem.
Now, the argument has raised so much among persons that the quality of our education is low, or the standard has dropped. You know, I don't know what is your take. Which group do you belong to? Do you think our education system, the standard has gone so low?
Yes, but even though it is a platitude, it's a statement everybody makes without adequate analysis. In terms of mirroring it institution by institution, for you to be able to get, put the process into a litmus test to determine whether what you're saying is true. Yes, we have done studies on that. Our educational system, it has not gone low, it has virtually collapsed. Let me give you an example, please. Just allow me to give you an example. Do you know that right now, if you ask a student to get admission and graduate, and there is a process for that student to, let me use their language, sort. Year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4. Let all the books and requirements and assignments be put here 1, 2, 3, 4. And there is a price tag for this thing. If you have 100 students, at least 30 to 35 would prefer paying for all this thing, and at this point they give them a certificate. They don't have any time to waste, desire to come and study, because they think it's a waste of time. I have my student tell me, oh sir, you are this sharp. Why don't you go and do fraud at full time? Then you make more money. You're sharp enough, in quote. And that will enable you to earn a faster, better living correlated to your level of knowledge. Now, you know, you begin now to imagine.
This is what your students tell you?
Yes. Those who are courageous enough to be able to talk to me about such things. Yes. Now you begin to imagine. Then I give you another example. Those two examples are correlated. Once I asked my student, how much would they like to be paid as salary the moment they graduate after NYSC? Only one young girl, one of these religious young girls, that said she would want 150,000 naira a month. Now this is somebody, or these are people who after 4 years in university have learned nothing. They know nothing. They don't even know what is a secret registry. They don't know how to write a memo. They don't know, they are not employable. But they desire, there are those who say they will manage 500,000. But they are not aware that their vice chancellor does not have 500,000 being paid to him as salary. But there is a limit for the salary of professors. When you become a professor, you are level bound. But I want you to imagine, this is the neurotic thinking of the people that we are supposed to be training in the university. And these are the people we say they are the leaders that will take over. Now you can begin to imagine the level of illness in their mind. They desire a salary. I didn't start work with a salary of 15,000. I just mentioned to you it was 3,200 naira. So which means that as far as those people were concerned, that is not a job of a cleaner. And they have nothing to offer. Courtesy of the fact that we didn't give them anything also. Because some of us are also not too far away from the kind of product that we produce.
Okay. Now, it doesn't used to be like this before. You know, I mean, the description you just made, you know, take your mind back when you were growing up.
Yes.
You know, now how did we get to this point? To what do we owe this collapse? You said the education system has...
First of all, it's government. You know, we have to apportion blame to whom blame is supposed to be apportioned. Government in the sense that there is an estimated amount of money, I think 35% of the budget, that is supposed to be allocated for the training, not just education, but education holistically. This is supposed to yield dividend over a period of time, because it will become institutionalized. It will become a process people will be learning, you know, they will be learning and they'll be acquiring capabilities. Now, that process collapsed, and education began to have like 1 point something in the budget, 2 point percentage. And that meant that whatever was going to be channeled to education was so minimal that they couldn't even meet the basic needs. Because there is basic needs before you begin to talk about technological innovation. We talk about creating a sustainable environment for learning. When those basic amenities are not available, what you get is a deterioration of the system, and the process begins to collapse. Over time, the various strikes which were intended to correct the situation failed to achieve their ultimate goal, and the system continued to deteriorate. I remember that in my second year as a lecturer, we went on strike for 9 months. You can't imagine the pain for a young man who is just entering the workforce and he is laid off for a whole year doing nothing. We had a similar thing not too long ago, about 8 months. Now, these continuous strikes which were the result of the fact that government has no capacity to honor its own agreement, entered freely, entered through discussion, through negotiation, through engagement in a conversation. All of this culminated towards the collapse. And then, you know, the affluence of society. Young people seeing men and women who are not working hard, earning incredible amount of money. I don't know if you've ever taken the pain to find out how much money a senator earns. And atop it, he is given consistency allowance of almost 500 million for him to go. I don't know how a senator who is supposed to have, yes, you know, who is not a contractor, who is not supposed to be engaged directly in his community, rather make laws that will enable his community and all other communities at the same time to develop. Now becomes the person who is engaged in community work. So the truth is that the collapse was multifaceted. It came from different dimensions. It was as a result of the fact that the budget for education was slipping off. The absence of a maintenance culture, the total absence or lack of a maintenance culture in our learning by doing process. If you do the same thing here, this place will collapse. If you stop cleaning up this place, cleaning up your camera, the lenses, etc., you stop keeping people aright to do the right thing, give this place 6 years, it will collapse on itself.
Wow. Okay, there is so much really for us to do as a nation, the government, and unfortunately the people behind these things are not moved. They are not taking any remedial measures. Okay, Prof, let me take you to another issue. You see, ivory towers globally are rated as centers of excellence. I think that's what they are called.
That's it, yes.
Yeah, because it is believed that through research effort or through the capacity they possess, they are able to resolve some societal challenges. Now, in our own environment, in our own country, there is a mounting socio-economic and political crisis, issues every now and then, everywhere. And now, how will you assess, how will you describe the handshake between the town and gown? You know, what are the university system, these centers of excellence, to what extent have they contributed to resolving these issues? Like the picture you painted about the collapse of our education system, about the collapse of our values. Universities are expected to. The crisis, the crimes, all of these things.
Tertiary institution, to the best of my knowledge, having been a member of that community for 30 years, have done the best they can within the environment and the condition of work they face. What do I mean? You cannot expect us to perform miracles in an environment where there are no elements for miracle. Now, what you want to find out specifically is, have we contributed? Yes, we have contributed very constructively. But you know, for instance, if you design a prototype telephone and you desire the financing to move that prototype to another level, and there is no funding, that idea will die and possibly die with you, or end up in an academic journal somewhere, which will be archived, and you will get credence for that. But beyond that, nothing. You have to fund research. Okay. If you don't fund research will not yield dividend. And the question is, are we competent enough to be able to conduct scientific and other socio-cultural experiment that will lead to the improvement of society? The answer is yes, and we have been doing that. But these things are not flashed. They are not talked about. What we talk about is importation, sometimes of ideas that emanated from here and developed. I'll give you an example. When I was an undergraduate in Ife, a lecturer developed a machine that was pounding yam. And there was nobody who sponsored it. In the 80s, there was nobody. A Japanese company took it, modified it, bought the patent right, and modified it and improved upon it, and that's it. And this is not the only one. There are many such examples of incredible things done by academics, incredible things done by students who are within the confines of an academic environment, but no follow-up. Rather, if there is a follow-up, maybe it's a multinational corporation that will come and buy the patent right and take it away. And a novelty, an improvement in the economy or the socio-cultural life of individuals within a particular polity is forgotten, and life goes on. And you know, we have an incredible poor memory in this country. So you don't, after a while, we don't talk about it again. Yeah. And we move on. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, you see, we are still on the quality of the graduates that come from the universities. We have institutions like NAFDAC, Standard Organization of Nigeria, Consumer Protection Council, and other regulatory agencies that regulate the consumable products, the things that are thrown out by producers in the society, to the society. Now, the products coming from the universities are the graduates. Now, how do you think the quality of the product should be regulated, you know, given that these products are getting into the society to perform critical roles? We produce doctors, we produce teachers, we produce lawyers. In the same way, NAFDAC will go and shut down an institution because it is producing fake products, or because they either withdraw your license or create one, you know, one sanction or another. Universities produce graduates that are substandard. You've admitted that earlier on. Now, how do we regulate? How do we get to ensure that the quality of graduates coming out from our universities are optimal?
We have an institution, you know, I like the question, it's amusing. The truth of the matter is, yes, we produce substandard product. Those who assess them are supposed to disqualify them from being sent into the larger society. But we have an agency that is responsible for that. The Nigerian University Commission, NUC, is responsible to determine our programs, to determine what we teach, what we conduct as research, and what we produce. And there are methods of standardization which are embedded in the university culture. Yes, our products are substandard in many instances, but you know, to be honest with you, you look at it from not from the inclusive, look at it from the inclusive and exclusive perspective.
What do you mean by that?
Yes, I mean that cameramen that are working right here are not working in isolation. They buy food item in the market. Yes. None of you, I cannot go to the supermarket. I say, my name is Professor Sam Ezeanyika. I don't have money to pay for this product. I'm going, and I carry the product. It's not going to happen. So we live in a society where the demands of subsistence are so strong that the end product is substandard. It is just like you're saying, we have substandard product coming from the university. So, and then we have Standard Organization of Nigeria, which controls the standard of product coming out for the general market. But you and I know that quite a high percentage of the product that you have in the market are substandard. And some is there.
Even when there are regulatory...
Of course, it tells you the depth of the rot. You know, when I say it is a culture and I say it's a way of life, I have written over 800 pages making this argument. It is a very deep argument. It is the rot that we have had in our society over time, heaping rot upon rot over time. None of us is innocent. I am not innocent. We are all guilty. And we live in a country where, yes, you say this what our conversation is going to go global, but the point is that is when global for how long? There is a culture of national amnesia where people's brain have died and don't work again. All they think about is bread and butter. What they can eat, they can consume, and you can't blame them because they have been pushed and pressurized into the animal level. What people are thinking about is how will they survive the next day? Where will the next meal come? How do you expect me to begin to do in-depth academic analysis when I'm hungry? When I am not sure that my salary is going to come? It's not possible. This is the society in which we live in. But I've just told you what democracy, which we claim is our system of government, demands of us. And we have not attained this thing. So you will have NUC not giving you the best of product. So Sun will not give you the best of product because we live in a country that is not the best of countries. And this is a collective responsibility. It is not an exclusive responsibility to government. No. Who sold fuel at 520 naira in this town? Was it government? Who sold fuel at 320, 350? Was it government? Those people who blocked money that was supposed to be accessible to the common person to be able to buy food for those few days that we may be blocked? Was it government? It was, for instance, the Igbo man to the Igbo man. But we are all very fast, including me, at pointing the finger at somebody else. But the truth is there. And why don't we remember that this is what happened before? We have a national collective amnesia. Our brain has ceased to remember. It is always the now. So AFAM is not only NUC that is bringing out hopeless product in a hopeless market. First of all, the market is structurally deficient. Goods and services that are produced and supplied to that market must be automatically defective. There's no magic to it.
Because it's a product of the inputs.
That is it. Input, output. Yes, yes.
So which conforms to the saying that you can't give what you don't have.
That's it. That's it.
Okay.
And it goes to everybody, including lecturers, including government, including even parents. Because this thing begins from the house, from the household.
Okay. Let me ask one more question before we call it a day. Now, this issue, let me come back to democracy and the government thing. What do you, like, as a professor in African studies and political economy, has it ever adverted your mind that it is possible for us to, if this democracy, what we call democracy, is not working, has it ever occurred in your mind that we can find another creative process way of navigating away from some of these things? You know, do something that is African, indigenous.
Yes.
Because most of the things we do here do not work because it's different from our foundation as Africans. We don't go out to bring this thing, I lift it on us, and it is not working. So the picture you painted is, you know, democracy is not working. In fact, we don't even have democracy. I've had a guest here again said, we are only deceiving ourselves, that we don't have democracy. You're not the first person saying it. Now, so, taking a departure from that point, what do we need to do as Africans, looking at inwards, you as a professor of political economy and African studies, has it ever occurred to you that you can fashion or make it throw up something, not just you alone, people in your field of studies, you know, what do we need to do? Because we can't continue in this process, and not just Nigeria alone, it's not peculiar to Nigeria, but African countries where you still see tight presidents and leaders.
That's what I'm saying. See, even within the university confine, what we do as work is not so well publicized. This is what we call an ongoing debate.
Okay, what I've just said.
Yes, it is something that academics in Africa and academic Africanists, Afrocentric scholars have been engaged in this discussion over time. And all of us have contributed our own grain of salt or sand in the mount. But the point is that, like we have been discussing all through, who is going to sponsor the institutionalization of those ideas? Those ideas exist. I told you that there is the book that I wrote so many years ago as a very young academic when I was hungry and desirous of work. Introduction to African Politics. Is on its 6th edition now, and is used in various institutions across the world. Now, the truth is that we are still talking about that vacuum where education has been identified as what will inform people to begin to ask questions. So government does not fall in love with education because it is going to create individuals that will start asking questions. Just like in this election, the information, dissemination of information, a different dynamic in the electoral process has created a very big army of people who say, we want to see the outcome of what we're talking about right here and right now. This is an expression of an ongoing process that is dynamic, that should become sustained and sustainable. Yes, we've been writing. Yes, we've been proposing. But the truth is, you need institutions to institutionalize this process. It must be ingrained in the citizenry of Africa from the cradle. Of course, there are other ways of governing other than democracy. Of course, there's the possibility of Africanizing the democracy, of giving it an African flavor. We have been working on those things. But they need to be, we need fora. Okay. We need institutions. We need processes so that we can turn these things into cultural value. Okay. They become culture laden, enabling us to replicate them and replicate people who think in that way. Instead of replicating young people who are desirous of becoming millionaires without working. And you can't blame them because they are seeing people become millionaires without working. That is why people believe that you can use human beings to make money. Now, if you tell somebody like me that kind of thing, I will drop on the floor with laughter. Because you must be daft, you must be so daft as to believe that kind of thing. But people do believe it.
Using human beings to make money.
Yes.
That's a true diabolic means.
Yes.
Are you saying it doesn't work?
No, it doesn't. There's nothing like that. There's nothing scientific about it. Nothing.
Yeah, there may not be something scientific. There may be something spiritual or something else.
There is no possibility of you using me or me using you to make money. It is not possible. Why is it not possible? Because there are no what are the rules? Because if it is something that is feasible, it must be standardized. It must be something which AFAM can go into the process and succeed. Have you ever seen somebody, apart from rumoring around,
the stories,
that he is rich because good?
Okay, Prof, you know what happens? We will continue this discussion at another time. There is still so much to ask you.
No problem.
So for now, let's wrap it up, and thank you so much for coming to the program.
I'm most honored and most privileged to have been given this very special forum to express certain views and to celebrate my 30 years in academics.
Viewers, this is where we wrap it up, and we'll continue to ask you to keep in touch with UHTV Niger for another interesting package. We are going to bring Prof back here. You have heard it all from him. The opinions he expressed, he has told us that we are not practicing democracy and that the institutions we have are not institutionalized to perform their roles. There is so much he has said, and he has promised to be here again. Please keep a date with us. My name is Afam Echi. Remember to like our Facebook page and subscribe to our YouTube platform. Thank you for being part of the program.